Hey Bri, great to see you. How's your day going?
Pretty good in sunny Arizona.
Very cool. Well, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to let us chat. We're really excited about the research you've published this year regarding canines and health. We just find it really exciting and interesting as dog lovers and dog parents. So Bri, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a fourth year PhD candidate at Arizona State University in the School of Life Sciences and the Center for Evolution and Medicine, where I study how the environment affects your genes in the lab of Dr. Noah Snyder-Mackler, and I work on the Dog Aging Project.
Tell me a little bit about why you decided to study canines and health.
Yeah, so I guess me personally, grew up with a lot of dogs around, a lot of rescue dogs. So the value of companion animals is like tenfold in my mind. So it was a really cool opportunity to work on a species that actually doesn't usually get studied that much, at least in my field of study. So that was one interesting aspect that sort of drove me to work on the project. But then also, uh, I just really think that studying the factors that influence the health of not only us, but potentially, the companion animals that live in our house, was also really, really cool opportunity. So yeah, that's why I joined the dog aging project, excuse me.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit more about the dog aging project. What is that?
Yeah, so the Dog Aging Project is this really cool multi-institutional collaborative study to understand more about the biology of aging. And they do that in a longitudinal fashion. So we track dogs that live at home with their owners over time, and we hope to really learn something cool about the health and aging of companion dogs that then we can, downstream apply to human health and aging.
Interesting. And about how long and how many dogs has the dog aging project been studying?
Yeah, so right now, I think the up-to-date number is about 67,000 dogs. So that's a huge amount of dogs across all over the place in the US. I think we have representation from every single state, which is so fun and cool. And the study's been going on collecting data since 2020. And I guess what? Now we're in 2023. So we're on our third data release. So that's really exciting. And the study is going to go on as long as people keep it moving forward. People like me and veterinary staff and the organizers, the NIH, and obviously all of you that participate in the study. So hopefully forever.
Yeah, I hope so as well. So you were the lead author on a study, The Social Determinants of Health in Canine Companions, just got published this year. You've gotten a lot of positive attention. It's
Yeah.
very exciting. Can you just tell us what is this research all about?
Yeah, so this research is really about studying the factors that influence the health of companion animals like dogs. And it's really driven by the fact that there are tons of parallels between humans and companion animals, specifically dogs. And so just like people are profoundly affected by their social surroundings, so are dogs, and they experience very similar influences in their environments. So really to better understand how our surroundings shape health and aging, we sort of turn to dogs as a unique study population because they share much of our biology and our environment. But they live a very shortened period of life, as I'm sure you probably experienced. So yeah, it makes them a really cool model species to look at this work in.
Gotcha. And now, where was your study published? In what journal? When was it published?
Yeah, so we published the study in the Journal of Evolution, Medicine, and Public Health. It was actually published earlier this year, so May 13th of 2023. But
Wow.
the sort of project actually started, or I guess at the end of 2021 into 2022. And so yeah, it's been a long journey. It's excited to see it like out and people receiving it really, really well. It's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. Oh, that's great. Tell me a little bit about the population you specifically studied for your group, because I know it was a subset that you kind of paired up a little bit. And what makes this research kind of so significant?
Yeah, so the population that we studied was about 27,500-ish dogs. dogs whose owners actually opted in to complete this survey that the Dog Aging Project sort of sends out to participants. It's called the Health and Life Experience Survey. It was sort of conducted in the first year of the project. So this is only on like a little snippet of data. So we call it cross-sectional, not longitudinal because there's only one time point, but it's across a lot of dogs. So we have like the breadth of, different ages and different breeds and different geographic areas, but really just one time point right now. So I guess the significance of the research is that it's in this massively large and diverse data set of companion dogs. So it allows us to sort of ask some of these questions about how your genes and your lifestyle and your environment influence sort of aging and disease outcomes in dogs. And then just the substantial number of participants and the longitudinal nature of the study in general sort of make it a really compelling and valuable resource for understanding how these factors influence canine health and longevity.
Yeah, no, I'd say so. And so talk about the endpoints or the outcomes you looked at to determine, canine health. What were those, outcome variables you looked at?
Yeah, so we did some heavy lifting on the outcome variables. We think so. We chose owner-reported dog health. We chose disease instances and mobility, all of which are capturing some aspect of what we would consider health, right? Overall health. So the owner-reported dog health is exactly what you think. It's the outcome that's sort of based on how dog owners objectively rated their pet's health on a scale of 1 to 6. So 1 being poor, 6 being really excellent. And that was our way of capturing, okay, what does the owner think their dog's health looks like? Disease instances is fairly straightforward. We wanted to capture a more quantitative measure of like how healthy a dog is. And so we took the total number of diagnosed diseases per dog over, that survey time period. And then this measure sort of provided that more objective assessment of health. And we tried to weed out any type of, disease that is maybe like an ingrown toenail or something that has like a medical diagnosis, fancy name for it, but isn't necessarily detrimental to the dog's health. And then mobility was sort of to capture this idea that as dogs and people get older, they tend to be less active. And so that was more of an activity measure to the best of our abilities. All of this came from that survey data. So we had at this point in time in the study, now we have some really cool things that are coming. But at that point in time, we were just working with like the variables that we had in the survey. And that mobility score was created considering factors like physical activity duration and intensity and frequency. And so any dog that had like a higher mobility score tended to be more physically active and mobile.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now, I know you looked at a ton of different variables to determine what influences canine health most. Talk to me about the variables you investigated in greater detail.
Yeah, so we came up with 5 factors, which in what we're calling factors. And these factors capture some aspect of the dog's sort of social determinants of health or social environment. And that could be, we did some moderately complex statistics, but in I guess simple terms, really what we were trying to do is we were trying to take a whole lot of variables and maybe group them by similarity. And then can we look at that group of similar variables and give it like a high level category, like, or a name? It's literally fancy sorting, actually. So we came up with factors like stability, that sort of measures the environment stability in that dog's neighborhood. So it could be, census tract data from the EPA or any kind of indication about the neighborhood that dog is living in, not necessarily just household specific variables. We had some measures for income that similarly captured not only household income, but area income. So how wealthy is the area that the dog is living in? How wealthy is the household? We had some social categories that captured like interactions with children, and that could have been number of children in the household, time spent with those children. Same thing with social in animals. We want those two things separated very nicely, very differently. So being social with humans or smaller humans, and being social with other animals like cats, dogs, any type of other companion pet that might be in the household, kind of two different things, and then owner age. And that was kind of unique. And so the questions that we sort of put into these little buckets were selected sort of a priori based on their link to at least one of the social determinants of health. So financial, environmental, social connection. And we really just took the survey and said, okay, out of all 652 questions, can we bin these? Are they relevant? Yes or no? Can we bin them into a category? Yes or no? And then eventually landed on these 5 factors.
So the 5 factors: social, environmental, financial, owner age.
Yeah.
And then what's the 5th?
So there's 2 sort of social factors. It's the one that divvies the animals, or the social companions that are sort of, any kind of other companion pet, and then children, actually.
Got it. So you split social into social pet and social
They
human.
loaded very differently, based on the analysis.
All right. And you said you had 652 questions on the original? Wow.
In the original survey, yep.
Wow. So what were the main findings? You looked at 652 questions, you narrowed it down to 5 kind of big fancy groups. What were the main findings, Bri?
Yeah, so the study's key findings, I mean, there is a lot to unpack in the paper, but really just shed some light on the complex relationship between age, the environment, and health in companion dogs. So we know that aging naturally affects dogs, but what we really discovered was that their environment plays a huge role too, and that hadn't sort of been quantified before now. I think people always had some ideas that it was important, but I think the connection hadn't really been made until now. So dogs that live in homes with more social companions, like other dogs or other pets, tended to be overall healthier. Also, older dog owners had more active dogs, but that's probably due to time, which was really interesting finding. Lots of people are retired and all of that stuff. And then we found, that also translated to better health for, your pets. Early life challenges that we know are super important in humans, also pretty important in dogs. And we also found that these findings sort of emphasize the importance of kind of understanding the impact of where and how our dogs live on their well-being. And similar to, how our surroundings affect our health as humans, same deal in dogs.
Yeah, really interesting. And when you compare the impact of the social environment of the dogs to some of the other ones like financial, I mean, what things did you find in comparison?
Yeah, so one of the things that popped out, which I think was exciting for our group because we study social connections and the social environment specifically, was that in our analyses, towards the end of the paper, we kind of talk about that it was the single most predictive factor for a dog's health and disease in our population. So this means that the presence of any type of social companion, such as like another dog or a pet in the household, had the most significant positive impact on the dog's overall well-being, outweighing any other effects of financial status and the local environment by about 5 times. So having other companions around can really make a difference in your pet's health.
Wow. And within that social component, I mean, if you had, I know there's a lot of them, but was there one single variable that stood out that had a higher impact than others?
Yeah, so it was sort of duration. So what the question was routine hours per day spent with, insert thing here. And so in that case, we were talking about other animals. And it's really the hours per day that these animals are spent, or that spend with, they spend with other animals. That's really important. So if you have a second animal at home, that's great. You're kind of already checking that box.
Yeah.
If you don't, and you're a single pet, household, the time that your dog might spend out on a walk interacting, or maybe at doggy daycare or something like that, is really important.
Yeah. And so I guess, what does this mean for dog parents? I mean, for the people that are reading your study and listening, and you're thinking, okay, Bri's done all this great research. What can I do? What can I take from this to make sure I'm doing everything I can to make sure I'm setting my, one of my favorite family members up for, a healthy life?
Yeah, so it's not, I mean, the one big takeaway about social connection being the biggest sort of driver in understanding, and predicting health in these dogs is that that's something that is like a tangible environmental intervention, I like to call them, that you can change. It's not often easy to make more money or to move your house to an entirely different neighborhood. I don't recommend doing that. But really increasing the level of social connection that your dog has is something that's such a small sort of change to your lifestyle that can, pay off in dividends later on. So yeah, I mean, the big takeaway, what does this mean for pet parents? So that means social connection. It's essential to sort of let your dog socialize. Now that doesn't mean going out tomorrow and maybe taking your quite shy animal out into this very busy, dog park collaborative space. It just means like, instead of 1 hour, maybe increase to 2 hours that you might schedule a play date or something. So think about adding play dates or social time if your pet's up for it, to create a more rich social environment for your dog. And then the sort of second caveat to that, or second angle to that, is staying active together was also really important. The study, found that how active your dog is can be influenced by your age as an owner. So staying active with your pet, especially as they get older, is super beneficial, not only, for your dog's overall health and happiness, but also yours. And the human data suggests that as well.
Very cool. Very cool. So Bri, where does your research go from here within the canine world?
Yeah, so I'm actually sort of in the middle of the next stage of this, which is, can we start to connect these sort of environmental influences, so things like social connections, can we make a molecular connection to a physiological change? And that's just fancy terms for, can we take what we see on the outside and see how it gets under our skin and really affects our biology to sort of, on the other end, tell us something about age-related disease or health over time. So we have some really awesome owners who are involved in the Dog Aging Project that have so graciously given us biological samples. So now I'm analyzing some really cool blood data that's going to hopefully next year come out and get at some of these sort of molecular changes that might occur that you might not see, that then downstream sort of manifest themselves into some age-related phenotype.
Oh, so that's awesome. It's very exciting. Loved reading the study. We really appreciate your time and best of luck on the future research. We look forward to reading it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. See ya.
Yeah.